Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers presented by Mortgage CS. Check out mortgagecs.com/PHLY to start your home buying process today. Company NMLS ID number 1464766. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. That was fun. Like right as I'm starting to read it. I'm like, no, not now, not now. Joining me today, as you can see, we are without Charlie O'Connor, but we do have the one and only JP Zapata.
What's going on?
As well as the star of the new Broad Street Hockey podcast. No, you told me you're not going to be on every episode.
No.
Yeah, you need more to do. It is Broad Street Hockey's own Kelly Hinkle. What's going on today, fam?
Oh, you know, just having a good time being a fan of the Philadelphia Flyers.
It's a Wednesday during the All-Star break.
I was really like this All-Star bye week thing that they're doing. I was like, oh, this is going to be a good time to like take a step back and talk about some bigger picture stuff and look at the rebuild. And there's other things going on in the NHL and specifically regarding the Flyers. As we all know at this point, it came out during the show yesterday. It's basically been reported now, and everyone connected these dots already, but you want to wait to be 100% on these things sometimes. But Carter Hart is one of the 4 NHLers and 5 total players from the 2018 World Juniors, Canadian World Juniors team that has been ordered to surrender to London, Ontario police on charges of sexual assault. And it appears as if all 5 have surrendered. I'm pretty sure I saw today, or they're in the process of. They have till Monday,
and they're all gonna be
when
charged.
The press conference is, and they're going to be charged at that point. But it's a shitty situation, to say the least, for obviously, number one, the victim. We never want to. I know we keep saying it, but like I don't want to. Now let's talk about the fucking hockey team.
Yeah,
like
it's tough.
But we do have to talk about the hockey team.
Yeah.
Like so, obviously, there's much bigger issues, but this is a hockey issue for the Flyers because we were just talking right before the show. Kelly and I, Steph and I joined Broad Street Hockey right at the beginning of the 2016-17 season. The 2016 draft is when Carter Hart was taken in the second round by Ron Hextall. So for the entirety of like the podcast feed that PHLY Flyers is now on, like the entirety of the time we've been together, Kelly, this Carter Hart has been one of, if not the main topic of discussion. He was, okay, we have our franchise goalie and now we go. It appears as if, at least for the time being, that will not be the case. And it's leaving question marks about the goaltending position. So I think we do have to touch on those a bit. The net is Sam Ersson's right now. I gotta believe.
I mean, it's not Cal Petersen.
Yeah, like
so.
How do you think they're gonna handle? Like, is Cal Petersen gonna play back-to-backs and that's it? Like, do you think that's how they're gonna handle this?
I think he's gonna get the Brian Elliott treatment, like the as few games as possible.
And the Brian Elliott in Tampa treatment.
Yes.
Okay. Where it's like,
yeah.
You know, we got Vasilevsky. You're gonna play on the back end of back-to-backs. Maybe.
Yeah. I think, and it's unfortunately not for the same reason. It's more because Cal Petersen in the AHL has been very, very bad.
Swiss cheese.
Yeah. So you can't imagine he's going to be better in the
Right.
NHL where the shooters are better and there's talent and all that kind of stuff. So I think they're going to want to really, really limit how often we've got to look at Cal Petersen. Although I have to say, I'm kind of here for a Cal Petersen redemption tour. It could happen. It's happened with goalies before.
Goalies, as we always say, are voodoo.
Yep.
They don't they don't make sense. No one knows when you're going to get a good goal. Like you in the playoffs, you need elite goaltending, but often get it from like. It's just a couple weeks of Jordan Bennington. It's not the elite goalie that, yes, Patrick Waugh goes off, Marty Brodeur.
It's Michael Leighton getting you to the cup final.
Or a Michael Leighton, Brian Boucher tandem where one just keeps getting hurt and then the other comes in and gets hurt and it's, perfect. The other one's back. Like, it's shit like that, but you need the elite goaltending to make the run. I don't know if we can call what the Flyers have an elite tandem by any means.
I think it'll be 70-30 because of what you guys are kind of discussing. Like, we all know what Cal Petersen is. And also, we are trying to find out exactly what we do have in Sam Ersson. So I think it's going to be more of 70-30. But it does raise the question about if, like, God forbid, as we knock on wood, something does happen to Ersson, whether it be health or mental, what do you have after that?
No, and that's the, like, they're going to run him out there a lot.
Right.
Also, that's a real good... Why does basically every team in the league employ some sort of tandem outside of, like, teams with Vasilevsky and teams with UC Saros? Like, unless you have one of those dudes. Yeah. It's because it's a good way to get hurt. Playing a ton.
Yeah.
We're just, like, worn down, and you're not at your best for... Like, if you're 85%... you're just not as good as you are when you have that full rest. And we started to see Sam Ersson really play well, and then he started to get more time. They were going every other game. Now the net is his. And, like, to your point, I just looked.
Not good.
890 save percentage for Cal Petersen in the AHL. Not to be outdone, your boy Felix Sandstrom, 878. It's not going great down there. Their best goalie has been Parker Gagan. Who's,
that guy who I definitely know.
Yeah, who goes between the ECHL and the Phantoms.
Yeah, my favorite guy.
He's played 10 games, has a 908 save percentage.
When are we bringing him up?
Honestly, it might not be the worst idea.
Honestly, if they did, just for funsies, if for some reason, Petersen gets hurt, Sandstrom gets hurt, and you bring up the ECHL guy, I honestly would get a real kick out of it. And then he would probably play lights out, and it would be hilarious.
No, there would be he would have one great game. There would be a goalie controversy. Right. We would turn on Sam Ersson. Obviously.
God, I love Philly.
This is what we do here.
I already see it happening, quite honestly. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great content for us down the stretch. But do you think... The best chance to win every game is Sam Ersson. So you said 70-30. Sure. He's the best option that they have right now. Is it more important that you have the best chance to win as many games as possible and find out if Sam Ersson can handle a hardcore number one workload, or keep this guy healthy and keep him on whatever development path you had him on prior to the Carter Hart situation?
I think you got to play him. The one thing I always say, it doesn't matter what sport it is, you can't go out there and worry about injuries. You got to go out there and play your game. And for Ersson, nothing is set in stone for him. He's got to go out there and prove that he's a number one guy, especially right now for the time being. It does seem the path is there for him. So if I'm the Flyers, I'm putting him out there as much as I possibly can, stick to that 70-30. And more importantly, more importantly, is finding out what you have been Ersson, but also, too, if the backup in Cal Petersen now is what we should be having right now, too.
Trying to find... It's hard with all the different places they play overseas, like the international competitions. Yeah. Looks like his career high is somewhere in the 40s for games played. So he will be seriously pushing himself. He played 42 for the Phantoms last year. This will be a real test for him. And I definitely want to find out what he has, if for no other reason than he's all we have. Yeah. All right, sink or swim, kid. But I am worried, I don't know. I talked about this with Charlie yesterday. It was last year or 2 years ago where Columbus was just running out Elvis Merzlikins every single game. It was for the second half of the season, they're not yours, kid.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been good since.
So you're worried they're going to ruin him?
Maybe not ruin him. I don't think his career's over. But is it the right development path? Do you need to either bite the bullet and play Cal Petersen more than you want to and just hope that John Tortorella's defensive system can keep him clean, or perhaps go out and try to acquire a goalie to run in tandem with Sam Ersson?
See, I don't want them to do that. I feel like there are, if you look at the UFA options this summer, there are enough solid backup goaltenders on that list that this summer it's not going to be any trouble for the Flyers to bring in a guy to back up Ersson. I don't see any point in spending assets on a backup goaltender now, when I think, given the current state of things, I kind of feel like we know where we're heading. It's not good. Before, I feel like if you had asked us 2 months ago Like, they might get in. They could make some noise. If the goalies get hot, you never know what could
You asked
happen.
me 8 games ago.
I mean, that was me anyway. But now, like, the defense is kind of falling apart. The goaltender's going to jail. Ersson doesn't seem to be as good playing all of these games. It's just, the situation's kind of falling apart. And it kind of doesn't matter because the front office seems to have been on the same path the whole time. Like, they were working the rebuild the entire time. Tortorella and the players were going win. And they were getting some stuff done. And I'm sure they're going to keep trying to go win, which is why they're probably going to play Ersson all the time. And while I agree it's probably going to be rough for him, and at some point he's probably going to look like absolute shit because he gets so worn down, but you have to push him to see what he is, because at this point, he's our number one goaltender. Like, that's what we got. So we have to see, is this guy going to be able to backstop this team in 2 to 3 years when they're supposed to be good? Or do we have to spend the next 2 to 3 years trying to find somebody or hoping one of the Russians can come or whatever? They got to find out what they got. And there's really only one way to do that, and that's just running him into the ground.
It's literally like the like that meme, like the dog. Everything's fine, but the house is burning right behind them.
Yeah.
I like, for me personally, I think you gotta go with what you have in Cal Petersen or Felix Sandstrom if that's the case as well. So because like I just look around, I just don't see better options. Now, one avenue possibly is you do have some defensemen who could be possibly moved at the deadline. Could a goalie, obviously you're not going to get like a solidified backup goaltender like you're probably going to find in free agency, but you find a body in there that can compete in there and can be thrown into like, you know, a little side piece of the package there with one of these defensemen.
I guess that could happen.
Got to get picks.
It would be.
I would agree.
Like, I would hate to. That's in terms of the giving up assets thing. I'd almost rather trade for a guy than like take away from the return of hopefully whatever they get for Nick Seeler or whatever.
Right.
I will ask, though, like, I think it's vitally important for the rebuild, quite honestly. They don't have to make the playoffs, but I think them not just going in the tank and playing fake games in March and April, like we've seen the last couple of years where the games are just inconsequential.
Right.
Like, I don't think anyone, like, gets better in that because it's, like, these are exhibition games. No one's... It's just fake. It's fake games. Yeah. I don't think anyone gets any better than that. I think if they're playing meaningful games, that is experience. That makes the first half of this season and not tanking worth it.
Yeah.
Because of that, I think almost, you know how it's, well, we might not have, you know, the full sale at the deadline because, you know, we owe it to the players in the room to let them see it through and all that shit we always hear. Do you almost owe it to the guys, though? Like, they worked their asses off to be in this position, and now you're handicapping them a little bit.
No, they have to tighten their shit up in front of their goaltenders, what they need to do, because the last 5 games, the entire team defensively has looked like garbage.
That's when you look at Ersson's numbers, you're like, oh my God, he's shit now. It's like, no, actually, he's playing all right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
he hasn't been his best.
No.
But he's been fine. Like, you could win with a goalie playing this way. It's just, like, every chance is, oh yeah, it's Mikko Rantanen alone in the top of the circle. Like, what do you think happened?
Right.
Like, oh, one-timer over the glove. Like, yeah. Yep. So I just have
It's tough.
I have a couple of names that I think some are more interesting than others.
Oh boy.
Like the first one, this is someone on Twitter asked me, like, UC Saros, like $5 million through next season. No, I don't think they're going out and getting UC Saros if he's available.
No, ma'am.
John Gibson, $6.4 million for 3 more seasons.
Why would you do such a thing?
I'm just naming guys
All
who
right.
are on the last.
Those are guys. Yeah.
The guys who are on the last TSN trade bait list that I could find.
Okay.
Or maybe this was the Athletic one, Chris Johnston. I think it was the Athletic's Chris Johnston. It was from like a month ago. So those are the 2 that just aren't happening. I might be interested in Antti Ranta. I saw today Freddie Anderson's coming back for Carolina soon, so they might have a little bit of a log jam in net. They haven't been able to buy a save all season. Doesn't bode well, but Antti Ranta is what he is. He's an NHL backup.
He's been a solid backup.
He's on a $1.5 million deal that is expiring after the season, so there's no financial commitment, no term commitment. Something like that could make some sense. How much better is he than Cal Petersen? He's adequate. he beat us for a cup. No, that was Antti Niemi. Never mind.
Yeah, it was the other one. What is
that from the record.
The point of it's okay. I forgot Mark Recchi was in the Hall of Fame, so it's fine. These things happen.
I convinced myself. I was like, oh, he must not be. I thought he got in.
No, I'm just real dumb.
Because I remember us talking about they always retire guys' numbers when they get in the Hall, and I was like, oh no.
They didn't.
I think what saved the Flyers is which number do you retire?
Exactly.
Like, does Mark Recchi get 2 numbers?
Absolutely the fuck
that's
not.
Fucking, what is he, Kobe? Like, that's ridiculous.
Okay, so
All right, go on with your other point.
I don't know what's gained, really, by trading for Ranta when you can simply sign him in the summertime.
That's fair. I guess just the saving of the final 32 games of this season, however, now is...
Saving it from what?
Is the asset you give up like worth the 15 games he's going to get in, let's call it, you know?
No.
Probably not, right? Especially with what goaltending is around the league. Like, there might actually be suitors for some of these guys. It might not just be like, here's a 4th next year. Like, it might actually be something, not substantial, but more than you want to surrender for a position that is voodoo, like we said.
Yeah. I mean, I think Kelly is spot on right here. I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's the backup goaltender. In general, whoever's in front of that goaltender has to play better. And that was the concern heading into this break now. We're hoping once we get out, these guys are fresh and they're playing much better. But it really doesn't matter who's that backup goaltender if the play is not better. And yeah, I mean, cool. You go after an Antti Ranta, but I don't think like that is like a player like the goaltender like that is not going to help down the line here, I feel like.
Capo Kakkonen out in San Jose. He's a little bit more expensive, $2.75 million. He showed up on the trade bait list. The guy who I think is actually kind of interesting here, Jake Allen.
Okay.
$3.85 million, so it's a little expensive, but it's Montreal. Maybe you get them to cover some money through next season. So now you're set. You have that veteran that you can put in a tandem with Sam Ersson, and it's only one more year. You got to assume that if Kolosov comes over, he's not going right to the NHL, is he? Like, that would be surprising.
It would be.
And I guess you could always buy out Jake Allen. I mean, it's Jake Allen. You can trade him.
Probably.
Like, everyone always wants a Jake Allen.
Everyone always needs a goaltender heading into the playoffs, really.
So, like, I don't think it would be... Depending on what you have to give up for any of these guys. Like, I'd rather pay Jake Allen and get a more solidified, steady guy that I think I can count on, but also, like, doesn't need the net. Like, he's a guy who's always been in a tandem. It makes a little bit of sense to me because then you have him for next year, too, and you don't know what the situation is next year.
Or you wait to the summertime and you get yourself a Stoli. You get your Stoli, the goalie, back. You bring back savior of the Maple Leafs, Martin Jones. Like, there's so many players that are going to be...
You're making a lot of good points right now.
I know. Cam Talbot, Cal Pickard, so many old goalies that we had all in one season could come back and play for the Flyers again.
Half the dudes from, like, that year when the Flyers had 19 goalies are, like... doing kind of well around the league.
Yeah.
Like, Peter Mrazek just got a new contract.
Martin Jones literally saving the Leaf season.
Who's like .899 save percentage you've been able to set in stone for the last 4 years. Yeah, he's actually saving a playoff-bound team right now. And that's like, yes, Sergei Bobrovsky got hot and took the Panthers to the Eastern Conference Final. If they don't have Alex Lyon for the end of that regular season... they probably don't make the playoffs. Like, it's
just, okay, so I just don't think that the success that this team has had this season has not really hinged on the goaltenders. Have they been playing well? Yes. But I can't think of, like, any stretch of games where I'm like, wow, they would have lost 3 of 5 if the goalies weren't lights out. Like, it's been a team effort. And the team has fallen apart for whatever reason. Charlie mentioned before that they're probably... hurt more than we know. Everyone's probably, worked up over the crimes. That's a problem. And this break allows them a chance to reset mentally. It allows them a chance to heal up from whatever's hurting. If they can come back and play the way that they had been playing through those stretches that they won a bunch of games.
Yeah.
I don't really think it's going to matter too much who's in the net unless they're just like, letting things go by them left and right, which, Cal Petersen could do.
It's
Could do.
it's well within the realm of like plausible outcomes that he
It is,
stinks.
yeah.
But like if they play that solid D in front of him,
Right.
that they played for the most of the first 50 games of the season, you should be able to mitigate some of his
Yes.
lack of ability.
And
right?
also, he's not going to be in there that much. He's
That's
really not.
it's gonna be Ersson.
Yes.
That's the thing that's stopping me from being like, no, go out and get Jake Allen. It makes sense. It's like, as much as I think it might not be the best idea to play Ersson, it might be the best of a bad situation.
Yeah, and let's talk about the elephant in the room as well. Like the offense production has also gone down. It's added more pressure to defense and goaltending as well.
If you don't score, it doesn't matter how good your goalie plays. You can't win 0-0.
Someone
Now,
in the
they did win 1-0 in a shootout this year, which is essentially a 0-0 victory, but that usually doesn't happen unless you're playing the Islanders. They also are trying to not score.
Someone in the chat suggested Boosh, and he looked pretty good in the alumni game.
I wasn't there. Did he look good?
He looked good. There were a couple of guys that
they were
very
busting his
clearly
balls on the
could have
broadcast.
just jumped. Like Patrick Sharp looked like he hasn't missed a day. Like
Yeah.
it was crazy. But anyway, yeah, Boosh is a solid backup option.
Call up Boosh. Let's go.
Listen, if you can make the broadcaster the president, you can make the broadcaster the backup goaltender.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Honestly.
No rules.
For the last 24 years, basically, Plan B has been Brian Boucher.
Seriously.
Like, it's
Seriously.
just... Well, fuck
Phantoms,
it.
Flyers, like seriously.
Anyone got Bush's number? Where is he? No, he's in Arizona. Bring him back.
Bring him back.
Bring him back. He's in San Jose. Bring him back. No, but to your point about like this break, 8 teams in the league have played 50 games. The Flyers are among them. No one has played more. Like they're clearly exhausted.
Yes.
When your entire team identity is block every shot, try real fucking hard every night.
Yes, exactly.
You're probably going to wear down. And the 2 to 3 weeks before the break have been an absolute circus. From Cutter Gauthier. Now, like, we said, like, they got a new buddy. Like, Jamie Drysdale comes in. Like, they didn't lose anything. How many of these guys have had more than a 2-minute conversation with Gauthier? But the fact that, like, it's been something else going on is a thing. The whole team was sick. They were on the road. And now the Carter Hart situation, it's been a fucking circus.
Yeah, it has.
Like, this break came at a great time. I think I'm remaining optimistic right now about
Same.
what they're going to look like when they come back. I think they're going to look closer to the team that won 5 in a row than the team that lost 5 in a row immediately
100%.
after that. Will the results continue to be the same? I don't know, because I honestly do not know what to expect out of the goaltending. I do not know what to expect out of, like, is Owen Tippett going to be healthy and as hot? Like, is he taking the next step, or is that just a nice little hot streak he was on before he got injured? Like, is Morgan Frost this guy now? And if so, who can capitalize on the chances he creates?
Is Travis Sanheim going to turn it around?
Is Travis Sanheim going to stop looking like absolute shit like he
knocking
has?
over Cal Petersen.
Oh, like that was the perfect, like, yeah, that's what Travis Sanheim looks like right now. And that's bad Sanheim. And we've seen in the past, he's one of those guys when things starts rolling downhill, it's real tough to get it to stop.
Losing has been a big effect of this team in the past couple of years. You don't want that to happen again here.
I really don't want this 5 to turn into 10.
Yeah.
Like
don't think
winning
it
the
will.
first game out of the break is
PTSD.
is a big deal. Now, they're playing the Florida Panthers.
Oh, man.
So that's like a little easier said than done. They win a lot. They're probably, I honestly think they're going back to the Cup final right now. I think they're the best team in the East.
Florida?
Yeah.
I can see it.
They just like, they beat everyone up.
Send G back there.
They have good goaltending. Like, yeah, maybe
Boston
G
get
ends up-
revenge this year.
Yeah. That's the other thing. Like, we've seen it happen a couple of times. That Detroit team that was awesome in like 96 comes back and wins it in 97 after their like record-setting season. What President's Trophy team? Tampa Bay did it. Like, oh yeah, and then they came back the next year after they
Avs
lost in
did
the
it.
first round. Like Boston just had that record-setting season last year. Yeah, well, this year we're just going to win the cup. Like, it's definitely possible.
Yep.
But I just, man, Florida's freaking good.
Seriously.
I lost where I was going with that, so I'm just going to tell you about my friends at Mortgage CS. Mortgage CS, what does that CS stand for? Concierge Service. That's right. Why would they want to call themselves that? Why is that the name of their company? Because they are obsessed with bringing you exceptional customer service. They describe themselves as a white glove service. Now, they're always going to look to get you ultra competitive rates, but let's be honest with each other. Everyone's going to tell you that. Like, oh, yeah, no, we give you bad rates. You know, like, no one's going to tell you that. Like, the ultra-competitive rates, absolutely, that is what they are trying to provide for you. But maybe even more than that is the process towards those rates, making sure you understand and are comfortable with everything along the way. I sat down with the CEO, Ben Stucker, and his partner, Alec. I understood the process of buying a home better after talking to them than when I actually bought a home a couple of years ago. This is 2.5, 3.5 years ago, something like that. No, I am much more equipped at like talking about these things than I was even when I went through this process myself. And that's exactly why you need great customer service when you're going through this thing, because it's confusing, it's difficult, and it's scary to buy a home. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be paying this bill for the next 30 years. That's a long freaking time, man. You better know what you're getting into. And everyone over at Mortgage CS is here to make sure you know exactly what you're getting into and you're comfortable with everything. When you hear the word mortgage, think of Mortgage CS. Think of Ben and Alec. Save Ben's telephone number right now. It's up on the screen, but if you're listening on pod, 267-391-7425. You can email Ben anytime, ben@mortgagecs.com. Call or text him day or night. If you're not in the home buying process, maybe you have one, maybe it's a little down the line for you, ask him about PHLY Sports. Should the Flyers trade for a backup goalie? Maybe he'll have some thoughts on it. Check out mortgagecs.com/PHLY to get started today. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS ID number 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com for more information.
Like this comment says here, Boost Wholesale. Don't mortgage the future for a semi-capable backup goalie. I like that.
I mean, I don't know how much of the future your mortgage, like, they need to hit on their picks. Also, they have 4 second-round picks between this year and next year. You don't know if you're going to get Columbus's this year or next year, but like it's 4 total over the next 2 years. Yes, you need a lot of darts. That's why we call it the lottery. Like, get as many tickets as you can. But also, if it's a mid-round pick over the next, like, how many of these guys make the team and how many of them stick and are good? Like, it's a low-end possibility. Now, that does set up the argument for you need as many as you can, so hopefully you hit on 1 or 2. But, man, the chances of them finding Kucherov in the second round are low. That's been this team's...
You never know.
I mean, like, their first-round picks don't all end up that great. Like... You know, German Rubstov, he's nowhere to be found. Dudes like this, I'm just saying. All right, so that's the goalie conversation. I don't think they're going to go out and get somebody. If nothing else, Danny Briere has been pretty clear. When we talked to Keith Jones a couple weeks ago, I mean, John Tortorella basically said it. I mean, he didn't basically say, he said it to the media. Some people might not be happy with what we do at the deadline. Can't fall in love with guys. Got to keep the big picture. You know, all that stuff. So
it's a huge tease.
I doubt they do it. I just think it makes a little more sense than like, oh, well, you're in a rebuild anyway. Who cares? Like, I kind of want these last 32 games to matter.
I mean, I get it. You're not like talking crazy.
I know.
It would make sense for them to get a backup goaltender. I just don't think they're going to.
I doubt they do. So now... Of course, it is Wednesday, which means it's time to actually get to Mailbag Monday.
Wow. You guys tell
We've
time.
answered 3 questions in 2 days.
Proud of you, both.
3. So we're going to get to it's kind of just it's a grab bag here with the mailbag. Just all sorts of different
potpourri,
things.
if you will.
A potpourri. That's excellent. We're going to start it off with a question from Stakatoshi, which is a great name.
Love it.
What does the Tippett extension mean for Konechny's extension? He's got to be asking for around $7.5 million plus a year for 7+ years, right?
Probably.
Probably?
He should probably be the highest paid player on the team.
If you could get him, what's Sean Couturier is at 7.75?
Yes.
Now, the term, like, Konechny's not old, but he's not 24, you know? If you could get him at $7.5 million, like, that's really good.
With the cap going up, it's an absolute bargain.
And, like, if things don't go your way, someone would take Travis Konechny at $7.5 million.
Easy.
Regardless of the term, like, that would be really good. Do you think he's an $8 million player?
I mean, I think so. Based off of kind of some of the stuff that I saw about the salaries around the league, I would say just what Konechny also means to his team and the talent level that he's at, I would say, yeah, he's worth that $8 million.
Sometimes I think in the NHL, it's more about like looking at the individual team than it is like the full market, especially for players that are going to get re-signed before they hit the market.
This is coming from a Maple Leafs fan. That makes sense. Yeah.
Like, he's the best.
He's worth 11 to our team.
Right, exactly. He's the best player on the team.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, symbolically, what you have to do is pay him like the best player on the team. And then you have to hope that he remains one of the best players on the team for the length of the contract. The problem with Konechny is that right now, if he hit the market, someone would absolutely give him 8.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's open market. He's definitely getting 8, right?
Easy. So, you know, maybe you can get him to take a little bit of a hometown discount. But either way, like anything between 7.5 and 8, I'm not going to be upset about a Travis Konechny
And also,
contract.
like, don't look at 2020, 2021, and then the 2021-22 seasons. Those were down years for Travis. But overall, like, you see the sample size. He's been producing for this team.
Under Torres, he's like...
He
really
has
turned
42
on.
points in 50 games. 4 of them are on the power play. Like, he scores near a point a game on a team that does not score.
Yeah. He's the one scoring. He's the guy.
Yeah, like, he's the guy who scores for this team. I like Travis Konechny a lot, and I know if he hits the open market, like, he definitely gets 8.
Yeah.
Like,
easily.
Maybe I just brought up his hockey reference to check his age. I didn't check his age. So he will be, he's a 3'11 guy. So on March 11th, he will turn 27. So it would be, he's eligible for an extension on July 1st. He still has another year on his contract. So we're talking about age 28 to 35 seasons of Travis Konechny at these, like, I know he's worth it. In terms of if he hit the mark, I just don't look at him like, I think 8 is the threshold where it's like, that is the upper caliber guy. Now, he's an all-star. He scores a ton of goals for this team. Like you said, he's the best player on the team.
You're more worried about the years than the AAV.
I'm definitely worried more about the years, but just in terms of like how I perceive Travis Konechny, it's not as an $8 million player. Okay?
No. And I think that's just because...
Maybe I just still haven't caught up in my mind with what he's done over the last 2 years.
Because for the longest time, we talked about Travis Konechny as being a good third piece on a line with 2 good players. But he was never the guy making the line good. And that was for the last, 4 years? 5 years? And now he's the guy making the line good. And I think that some of our perceptions of what he's worth to the team haven't really caught up to what we're seeing from him. I mean, this team is not doing what they're doing this season without Travis Konechny. Now, the question then becomes, I mean, it is worrisome to think of having him signed through 35. It's always worrisome to think about having a guy signed through that age. That's the problem with UFAs in the NHL, is that you have to pay for past performance and hope they don't totally fuck you when they're old. Is it better to trade him now?
Ooh.
You could get some stuff for Travis
spicy,
Konechny.
I like
And
it.
that's along the same lines as this question we got from one of our regulars, TK for MVP. Do you guys think Danny is going to lock up TK during the offseason or next year after his contract is up? Because he's got a whole nother year after this year. He's eligible for an extension July 1st with the 1 year left on his deal. I think, like, the sooner you do it, the more you save. Prices never go down on players. I mean, he could get hurt and go to shit, but then it's like, okay, why are we re-signing you?
Exactly,
you know? Prices never go down on guys. And as the cap goes up, so too will everyone's price tags. Does it make more sense, though, just where the Flyers are? Because, like, re-signing him all hinges on the idea of we're ahead of schedule. Mm-hmm. And so having him makes sense. If you're not, and it's like, well, okay, when he's 30, we'll be good again. What the fuck are we paying for? Like,
And the
then
goaltending,
maybe it doesn't make sense. So do you almost have to wait based on where the team is?
Because the thing, like, it was feeling very ahead of schedule the first half of the season. And now with the goalie situation blowing up, like that being so up in the air, the being ahead of schedule thing, I'm not 100% sure on it anymore.
I also wonder if it's like very telling. Like, do they value? Because like Owen Tippett got signed first. Like, do they value Owen because he's younger and what he's producing now compared to TK? Because I would assume that they would try to, if they really do feel like TK's part of his future, they would lock him as soon as possible. Because the last thing you want to do is the end of his contract, you let him go for nothing.
I would be surprised if it comes down to July 1st, 2025.
No
and
way.
TK is leaving for nothing. He's either going to have an extension before that or be traded.
Would he be a deadline trade next year then, you think?
That's while, like, if, going back to the first question, say it's 7 and 7.5,
Yeah.
you could trade that,
Yeah,
I guess. It's way easier to trade a guy on a $5.5 million cap hit that's expiring in a couple of months, though. It's just way easier to trade a dude like that. Way more teams can afford it. You can cover half his salary for just the rest of the season, get a bigger return from a team that you trade him to. I almost, as much as it's like a couple of weeks ago, I might have been like, just get him locked up. He's here.
Yeah.
I think where the team is right now, it's impossible not to think they have to wait.
I don't think you're wrong. I kind of feel like if he's not signed by like Christmas next season, maybe we're looking at something happening here.
Yeah.
Or at least, a really hard shopping and then seeing what people offer. And if they don't offer enough, then you sign him.
That, like, if trading him isn't, because Charlie's made the point a couple of times, say we're good in a year or two.
Yeah.
And guess what we need? Travis Konechny.
Yeah.
And then you got to go trade for a dude, like a player just like a dude you already had, and it probably wouldn't have cost you as much.
You're not wrong.
As the cap goes up, now we have to go. We could have had this guy for 7.5, 8, and now it's 8.5 for a guy who isn't Tortorella's boy.
It's a fair point.
Always happens.
I mean, like, I feel like Konechny's game, sort of like Giroux, like I feel like he can age into still being good. Like he's not Mike Richards. Like he's not going to break down, I don't think, like that.
He definitely does not absorb contact as much as Mike Richards.
Right. So I mean, 33-year-old Travis Konechny could probably still be a pretty good NHL player. So I could talk myself into either.
I know.
Honestly. Yeah.
I'm like, it still might make the most sense to trade him next, deadline. Like, that still might be the thing that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think they wait to re-sign him. Danny's going to do it July 1st now. Right. Just like, today is the day, and it's done. All right, let's move on to Notorious P.I.G.
I like it.
It's always a good one from
names
him.
in here.
Atkinson has scored some goals lately, but they have all been net front / dirty goals. Is there still concern that he is not scoring on the rush or from other areas?
Okay, so has Atkinson fully rebounded? No. However, he really just had to start scoring goals to just mentally get himself right. And that's happened. And so now, I'm sure it'll come back. Whole team has been asked for the last 5 games.
Yeah,
it's all that we
really
can remember.
It's difficult to it's difficult to be like, well, he's a problem. Like, he was, and they were winning. Now it's like, he's not their biggest problem, and the whole team has been bad. I think just scoring it all for him makes it at least possible that I don't think they're going to be able to trade him till the offseason anyway.
No.
I don't think this is a mid-season thing for anybody. But now I think it's just, you might be able to trade him and retain some salary. Even if you don't get that much back, you open up the roster spot, open up half the cap hit. That's fine. You'll be able to do that rather than buy him out, which I think was a legitimate possibility at one point.
At the beginning of the season, certainly. It was starting to look like that was going to be the best possible option.
I'm not concerned about him right now because I feel like his play is balancing out. But I think the bigger problem is just the team in general, just scoring goals. But I think he's gonna continue finding his touch here as the season goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to see him because he's back to getting chances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it would be nice if he got a breakaway and scored every now and then. Like
I would
that
not
would
hate
just
it.
remind
General, too.
everyone, like, hey, he's good.
Yeah.
Like making the chance is huge. Like you can't score without making the chance, but you do have to score sometimes. Like he's like 0 for 7 on his last 7 breakaways.
Yeah, not great.
That seems difficult to do. I see. I skipped this question. Okay, from Big Yoin, I send Brenna, our producer, like when the questions are going to be asked, and then I go out of order. Heading into the off season, what's a player you'd like to see the front office pursue by trade or free agency, specifically to fill the 1C role?
Well, obviously, Elijah Petersen, right?
Yeah,
There it is.
He's my guy.
That's the one.
14 mil,
The only one.
4 first-round picks. I'm fine with it.
I mean, I don't know that I want them to do either of those things this offseason.
Nice, but
It would be surprising if they're like telling us in March, hey, get ready to lose some guys because we are rebuilding.
Right.
And then in July, they're like, yeah, we're done with that. Time for the next step.
Yeah, let's sign somebody who's 32 to an $8 million
That's
contract.
like, and that's why, like, I'm trying to focus. Like, my idea of offer sheeting Elias Pettersson. Yes, it's unlikely, but there's something going on there in Vancouver.
You know what, though? If anyone's going to bring back the author sheet, it's Keith Jones.
This
It's
is
Keith
my
Jones.
thing.
Keith Jones will do it.
This is all about getting back to the Flyers' roots.
Let's
We're
do
a
it.
premier team that does wild shit. We're always relevant. We don't care if it's smart or dumb. We're balls to the
Let's
wall.
go.
That's who the Flyers are. Offer sheeting is a huge part of that.
Write it up.
They offer sheeted Kessler. They offer sheeted Chris Gratton,
Shea
Weber. This is part of the fabric of this organization.
Let's go.
Trying to steal.
Good
We
old
can't
days.
draft for shit. That has been proven time and time again for 50 years. Let's just steal someone else's already good player. There is no way Vancouver matches like 13.5, 14 mil.
I don't think so.
Their GM came out a couple weeks ago and said, there are no superstars here.
Ooh.
You have a dude.
Don't telegraph that thing, my dude.
Yeah, like they don't want to give him huge money.
that's crazy.
They think they can get him for like the Claude Giroux contract or like 10 mil or
No.
something, like the
Canucks will Canuck.
Nylander contract. No, I'm sorry, he's better than those guys, and he's 24 years old.
Is he only 24?
Yeah, he's
Oh, this has to
he's
happen.
the Nolan Patrick draft.
Remember when
you
everyone
make
was-
up for one of the greatest all-time failures, the 2017 draft.
We sound like the Sixers now.
So you know
Jeez.
how Tort said that he reads all the letters that he gets? Let's start writing some letters.
Start writing some letters.
Elias Pettersson.
I gotta buy some
letters.
stamps.
Yeah, envelopes, the whole thing. Handwritten letters because that's personal. People like that.
I don't. I'm with Kelly. I don't think that this will happen. I don't think it should happen. But I will point this out. Didn't the Rangers do something with Panarin? Like he wasn't 32,
That's-
but he was a little bit
No,
older.
that's and the
Some-
Rangers were like, listen, we're rebuilding, and they got a couple of top draft picks. Those guys haven't really worked out. I mean, Lafreniere actually looks like he can play, but in terms of like top picks that these guys have been, it was like, yeah, well, we got lucky because Adam Fox only wanted to play here. We have an awesome goalie, and Artemi Panarin wants to come, so rebuild's over.
Yeah.
Like, I guess if that sort of situation occurred, it would speed things up. And now it's like, Elias, just hang
baby.
out for a couple of years, and then
on.
Michkov's going to be here, bro.
Exactly.
Like, and then we're going to have a 45% power play.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
I'm trying to right now bring up the free agent list for this summer, and damn it.
Are you looking at
I don't want
centers?
any of them.
Yeah, Stamkos,
Well, I mean, yeah.
Voracek, whose career's over.
Oh.
And it's a shame, but like, yeah, I'm just trying. So
What about Elias
Pettersson is
Lindholm?
Lindholm is interesting. Like that's exactly
29.
who they shouldn't go after.
Right.
Like that is the kind. Like this is an irresponsible. I mean, that's a good team paying him what you have to pay on the free agent market. Is like, well, you're gonna have to live with that because we want to win now.
Okay. So there's nothing internal for 1C, right? Like, definitely don't have it because William Gauthier sucks. So
William.
we don't really need this player next year. Like, next year's not the year. So, like, unless someone like offer sheeting Petersen. Unless like something like that is available to you this summer, I really don't see the point in going hard for anybody. Like, and then I would have to look and see what the following summer's UFA class is. Could be better. I don't know. But if you don't really need that guy next year.
As they say, if you build it, they will come, Bill.
I just love this idea. One, they have to get a first round pick for Sean Walk to make the Petersen thing work. Because at that price tag that you're going to have to pay him to get an offer sheet that Vancouver won't match, it's 4 first round picks. 3 of them could be this year. So it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Like, all right, it's one draft. You know? Like,
also, is anybody that we got going to be as good
no,
as Petersen?
I'll tell you right now, no.
Probably not.
Like, there's no chance.
They're going to be shooting for a number 1 defenseman, and that's like...
With this team's luck, like, they're going to get another Provorov. Like, oh, yeah, he's all right.
Yep.
Now we got the whole chat tweeting Charlie now to offer sheet Eli's back.
Oh, yeah, Charlie's so against the idea. He thinks, well, he's just like, the offer sheets don't work. No one's ever going to do it. Like, the Flyers do it.
No one's asking for pragmatism in this moment, Charles.
No.
We're talking about fun.
He's a goddamn professional, and he has to be logical.
Not us.
It's
We're playing
infuriating.
NHL 24 here, people.
Exactly.
It's infuriating, honestly, how, like,
I don't know how you deal with it every day.
pragmatic he is. The last question
Charlie.
from my absolute favorite Twitter account, Dr. Evil Gritty.
Dr. Evil Gritty.
Hey.
I straight up asked Charlie, I said, is it you? And he was like, dude, like, you know how stressed I am all the time?
I
It's because
know.
I have no free time. I was
Which
like,
is hilarious to
all
me,
right,
Charlie.
that makes sense. You don't have time to run a troll account.
Sounds like something
Someone
that
asked
person
if it was
said.
Someone
me.
pointed to you the other day.
I did it once before. You can't do it twice in your life. It's
you
sad.
had Carcillo's
Yeah,
mustache,
I was
so
Dan
you're not
Carcillo's
Dr.
mustache. I
But
am
that's
not-
exactly what someone running this troll account would
Fair
say.
enough.
But anyway, Dr. Evil Gritty, this is just a great question. I'm happy you're both here for it. If Sean Couturier finishes his contract with Flyers and misses 0 games, he will finish his Flyers career with 1,291 games played, 100 more than any player in franchise history. Is Sean Couturier, who was stripped of his hilarious.
I love that. That's so good.
It's so good. A top 10 Flyer of all time.
That's a really great question.
It is. Like, especially like projecting ahead. If they win a cup and
Yes.
he's Selke level Couturier. Or some semblance of that. Like a number 2 shutdown guy. Maybe he doesn't have that same offense, the 30 goals that we've seen when he was healthy and in his prime, but he's a Jordan Stahl for a cup team for years. Several playoff runs, hopefully an actual parade. Top 10. It's a real tough list to crack because so
That's
many
the thing,
dudes
I'm-
are immovable.
Exactly. You got, the 70s guys. You can't move any
Yeah,
of
none
them.
of them. Like, they won 2 cups and they're
Right.
all in the Hall of Fame.
Can't take Lindros off.
Right.
Can't take Lindros off.
I guess you have to keep Mark Recchi on there because of the numbers for no other reason.
I was so happy with your explanation about Mark Recchi too.
It's-
and like going back
Show me the line,
because
Bill.
I too have erased how everyone else in that locker room turned on Bill
It
Barber.
was mostly, in my mind,
Yes,
Mark Recchi.
it was all Mark Recchi. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's.
I totally
It
forgot
had
that
nothing to do
Bush
with
did it,
Primo
by the way.
and Gagne and Bush, all guys who
Totally
I love.
forgot Bush did it, I know.
It's
Anyway,
only Mark Recchi.
Only Mark Recchi. Can't take Lindros out. Can't take Recchi out. Could you take Leclerc out? I don't think.
I mean, how many guys have scored? What do you have? 5 straight 40-goal seasons,
Yeah.
back-to-back 50s.
That's tough.
Oh man, and like top 10 all time in franchise. It's just not about how good you were.
No.
It's like the impression. Like the
And
Legion
you got
of
like
Doom.
Burry in there
Marler,
too.
too.
The
right?
Legion of Doom is something every hockey fan of a certain age and older knows.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that's a thing.
Yeah.
Can you take away like we're running out of spots.
Well, let's put
like
it this
G,
way.
he's not
Well, that's what-
surpassing G,
well, that's
right?
what- yeah.
Nah.
If he wins, does he surpass G?
Ah, see, yeah. If
Is-
they win a cup with Sean Couturier,
He does. I agree.
he
Like
might.
if you were to make the list,
Easily.
G's on it, but Couturier's ahead of him
If Couturier wins the cup, yeah.
I could see that.
and plays his whole career here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole career here is also a big deal. I could see it. The case could be made.
Well, G could come back.
Contract's up after
Come on,
next
baby.
year.
It's not going well up there. Come home.
You're real home.
This poor bastard. I wouldn't wish coming back here on anyone. Like he did his time, man. Thank you for your service.
Seriously.
But like, I think like,
But it would be fun.
if he did come back, I feel like people would appreciate him a lot more because like obviously when he was here, it's like, oh, take the C off his sweater, like like. And now when he comes back, I feel like people would appreciate him more.
God forbid he comes back and the same thing that happened in Ottawa happens here where the team just falls apart. They'd be like, see? I told you.
He has
might
been
be
on
cursed.
a lot of teams that have fired their coach.
Fair enough.
Just saying. He's been through like
Maybe
12
he should be the
coaches.
coach.
Man.
Maybe he should be the
Player coach.
What if he's the coach of this team that
wow.
wins? That would be a thing. I mean, he's good enough to play to like 39 probably because he's still
Easy.
producing pretty well.
Yes,
Like,
he's
he's
still
really
so
good
sick.
there. He had a career high in goals last season. He just got down the ice 3-on-3 and scored a winner for the Sens the other night. It would be interesting, like how we would look at him and Couturier if he were to come back. But that's the guy. So who's on the list? Clark, Barber, Bernie, Mark Howe.
Mark
Let's
Howe.
go with
Yeah.
Lindros,
Leclerc.
Larry, good enough. I'm just kidding.
G.
Yeah.
Did you say Recchi?
Yeah, Recchi. So there's like
How
two
many you got there?
spots.
Two?
That's 8 out of 10.
You said Hal, right?
Yeah.
What about,
Desjardins?
do you put Desjardins on there?
I suppose.
I guess you could. He was their best defenseman for a very long time.
Yeah, that was a considerable amount of time where he was the only defenseman on the team.
The only
basically.
defenseman.
It's a
on the
tough
team.
list.
Man,
Tough list to make out.
but like I think I would put, especially if they win, I would put Couturier over like Desjardins.
I would too.
Yeah, I would.
So
So I guess he's firmly on then.
if he plays the rest of his career and these next few years at a high level, and they eventually win, he's definitely a top 10 flyer all time.
100. Yes, I agree.
What
Okay.
what if it's just like a bunch of like playoff
talk.
appearances, one Eastern Conference Finals is still put him right in there?
I think like if he's an integral part of this thing for the majority of the rest of his contract, I think he's in the top 10. Like that is a long career, man.
Yeah.
Like to come over in the Carter trade as a draft pick and like get selected at number 8 and then play here for 15 years, that's a long freaking time, man.
That is a long time.
Like maybe just on if he finishes this contract in Philly, like just on longevity, he might be on the list because like 100 more games than anyone else.
After that top 8, I feel like the list gets
A little open.
fuzzy enough that you could put him on there.
And like Leach has to be on there. Like there's guys.
yeah.
There are guys who should be on. Like it's hard not to put half the 70s. Like they won back-to-back cups.
Okay, off topic. I was thinking about this while I was at the alumni game. Don't you think it's weird that all of those guys aren't in the Flyers Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Like, why wouldn't all of them be in there?
I don't know.
They should all be in there. Keith, I know you're
Like,
listening.
Little by little, I guess.
And that's like
Put them in.
Like I said, like Leclerc, not even just how good he was, but what he meant. Like the Legion of Doom is
Yeah.
a thing. Dave the Hammer Schultz is as recognizable with the Flyers logo as any other player,
Yeah.
except maybe Bobby Clark. Like in terms of recognizability, he might be ahead of Bill Barber. You know?
Oh,
would
I
say
think
so.
so
I
for
would say
Like
so.
just
casual
like
fans
name,
for sure.
go up to someone in the street and say, "Name a flyer."
Yes.
I bet you Schultz's name comes up before Barber's for a lot of people.
Because
I
he
a
agree.
was like
majority
that-
of people.
He was that mentality. He
Yeah.
brought that Broad Street bully.
So
They should all be in there. I'm just
this is it's just a tough list to narrow down because of the criteria.
Yeah, it's
But
a very amorphous
I
criteria.
think if he's like the all-time leader in games played,
He's gotta be on.
and things don't go to absolute shit, and he's only out there because we're paying him anyway. Like he makes the list.
I agree.
HG's throwing some goaltenders in here. Pelle Lindbergh, Hextall.
I don't think Hextall's on the
I
list.
just don't think either of them played like
Pele
they,
did not
neither of
play.
them
No,
had
Pele
long
you put
enough.
on the list for like Memorial, but that doesn't count.
Yeah, like if he played his whole career here and as good
Maybe.
as he was,
Yeah.
when he started, then sure. But his career tragically cut
Right.
short. Ron Hextall, he gets traded and comes back a few years later. Like maybe if he's there the whole time, he's on the list.
There's a lot of guys like Hextall where if they had won a cup here, I think you put them on
Yeah,
the
like
list.
if he beats the Oilers in '87, he's up there with Clark and Bernie.
Right. But he did not.
He did not. He won a Conn Smythe despite not winning the cup. That's really difficult to do.
Yeah, good for him.
So I guess, but I don't quite think he makes my top 10. Does his general manager tenure taint it for me? Because I did love Ron Hextall.
I liked him too. I don't think it does. I don't think player only he makes it.
All right, before we go on to this last thing, I got to tell you about Rocket Money, baby. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills. I can see all my subscriptions in one place, and if I see something I don't want, I can cancel it with just a tap. I never have to get on the phone with customer service, which is a dream come true for me. They'll even try to get you a refund for the last couple of months of wasted money and negotiate to lower your bills for you by up to 20%. All you have to do is take a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over 500 million in canceled subscriptions. I've told you multiple times, all the subscription services, everyone has so many, you lose track of them. All of a sudden, it's $4, it's $8, whatever. It's a few dollars here and there. A few dollars here and there over the course of a year absolutely adds up, hence the average of $720 a year that Rocket Money is saving its users. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. That's rocketmoney.com/PHLY. rocketmoney.com/PHLY. All right, this last thing I wanted to get to today, later in the week, either tomorrow or Friday, I don't know yet. I want to do a list of everyone's 5 worst Philadelphia jerseys, any sport.
Okay.
And the inspiration for this is these apparent leaks of the Philadelphia Phillies City Connect jersey.
That's a jersey.
I am, as everyone knows, very open-minded about jersey design. I start at liking things and then go why wouldn't I like? I want to like jerseys. I cannot find a single redeeming quality. This thing, I said to Kelly before the show, you were at Woodstock 99, Kelly.
Yeah.
I bet you 2/3 of the people were wearing something almost exactly like this.
Yeah, it's a Limp Bizkit shirt.
Like that shirt and some Jankos, you're at Woodstock 99.
Yep.
The font.
Where did they find that font?
They found it on Beavis and Butthead's Metallica and AC/DC t-shirts. That's the only explanation. There's nothing inherently Philly about this at all. From the fade.
Didn't the Diamondbacks have this font? Now that I'm looking at this closer?
It kind of does look a little Diamondbacksy, and
that's something we don't
the
want to
patch
see.
on the shoulder looks like the Union logo.
JP knows that's a Union jersey with buttons is what we're looking at here.
That is a 2024 Union home kit.
At least someone compared it, at least it's not as bad as those yellow and blue Eagles jerseys. I think it's considerably worse than those.
First of all, do all baseball jerseys that fans buy look that cheap?
Well,
because that looks cheap. It looks like it's made of plastic.
It's made by Nike, but who's going to produce it?
Well, yeah.
So.
It just looks shitty.
There's no way to make that color look good. It looks like something you get at Boscov's.
Oh God, it does.
I'm obviously not opposed to those colors, but I had this idea in my head for an alternate jersey for the Phils.
That's like a union. That's
literally.
the Union. I don't understand what's happening.
I just always wanted black as an alternate jersey. I think black
Don't
with
tell Charlie.
with trims of red and blue is what I've always wanted for the Phillies. These City Connects, they don't always make sense for the entire MLB.
A lot of them are not good.
Yeah.
Also, I saw 8 not good ones today. I would take over this in a heartbeat.
So I don't baseball that hard. Is the point of the City Connect to embody the vibe of the city?
Yes,
or
it's
something.
Yes. I suppose.
All right.
That's what they're going for. But I think in comparison to the Eagles yellow and blue jerseys from, what was that, 07, I think. 1, they dropped 49 points that day. They should wear them all the time. 2, those jerseys were not, they were purposefully obnoxious and loud. This jersey, it's embarrassed of itself. It's stupid, but we're gonna have this fade, and the blue is gonna be bright, but no, look, it's muted, and there's not gonna be that much yellow, just a hint of yellow. If you're gonna go for it, be ridiculous.
Yeah, didn't some team have fluorescent pink and
Yeah.
yellow or something. Like those were fun.
Yeah, the
at
Miami
least.
jerseys
Yeah,
are
that's what
cool,
it was.
they were
man.
nice.
Like those San Fran ones that were white with the big orange logo on the chest. Like, I thought
cool.
that was cool. Like there's some cool, like the Chicago White Sox ones, the South
Yeah.
Side. Like would I wear it? No. Do I think it's cool? Yeah, it looks like straight out of a '90s music video and not a Limp Bizkit video.
That should be the vibe. It should be like Saved by the Bell 90s vibes for these.
Be loud.
Yeah.
It's Philly. We're the most obnoxious assholes on the planet. Listen to how I speak.
So we're cool with the colors, just not the design.
I like the colors. If it was just all that light blue without the fade,
That would be
and like
better.
some more yellow, I guess I could take it more.
I do like sky
But at the
blue.
end of the day, like I don't know, make it Phillies colors. Like
The font is just so weird.
yeah, the Philly like I don't know. No one wants a. I find that odd.
It's weird.
Like I don't know.
I don't want a jersey that says just says Philly, especially when our name is the Phillies.
No, it looks like that's something of a like you don't have the rights. So we got
Yes.
just it's Philly.
Foreman
like,
Mills.
This is like the
It's a Foreman Mills jersey.
the Philly frenetic because they couldn't say
Foreman
fanatic on Always Sunny. Like that's what that looks like to me. I'm just baffled by this thing. Anyway, I know this is a Flyers show. We're going to talk about jerseys more later this week. This was just a way to start that conversation because it came out today. I hope this leak is fake because it is an ugly freaking jersey. All right, but that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers today. We are always presented by Mortgage CS. Check out mortgagecs.com/PHLY to start your home buying process today. Company NMLS ID number 1464766. All right, that's it for us. My name is Bill Matz. I almost said for Charlie, and he's not here.
Close
for
enough.
JP and Kelly, we will catch you tomorrow, fam.
We all silly like the mayor.